Shabbat Shalom, family. Glory and honor and power to the Father Yahweh, who is above all things, who is the creator of all things, who is the creator of Israel, who named and called Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, whose son is the sacrifice for sin, through whom we get atoned and cleansed, through whom the Father sends us his perfect righteousness, Messiah, Yahweh Shai. Glory be to his name. Greetings to the 12 tribes scattered into the four corners of the earth through slavery, according to this book, and to the 144,000 among them who are being prepared to call and to prepare the way for the return of Messiah. And for the Gentiles who have received this truth of the perfect righteousness of Father Yahweh through Messiah, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. Greetings. Greetings to the chat, Sister Junior, Brother Zadok, Brother Diamond Holdings, Brother Yakoba, Brother Azariah, Brother Chaplain Lewis, Brother Superstar, Sister Isha Shama, and her husband. Only One Way, Brother Stephen Kelly, Brother Gary Joseph, Akmar, Hebrews Rhonda, Brother Imana Prakash, and Brother Winston Jones, and anyone else. Greetings, Shabbat Shalom, blessings to you all. We have been studying These Be the Words, otherwise known as Dabarim, otherwise known as Deuteronomy. We've been studying Deuteronomy, one of my favorite books in the Bible, and a very, of course, historical, of course, teachings, but most importantly, prophetic book that will guide us in the way we should go in all areas of this life and in the life to come. Praise the Most High. And so if you understand who the true, real bloodline Hebrews are, according to this book, and Deuteronomy is one of those books that teaches you that, you understand that the people who came across the ocean in slave ships, in chains, are the true Hebrews that the Bible is talking about. When you understand that that's the case and you're reading the book of Deuteronomy, you should understand that you're reading your own history. You're reading the history of your people. You're reading the history of where you came from. You're also reading your future. You're reading your future. So you see all of that in the book of Deuteronomy. It's all in there. Okay? So as we continue, chapter 19 of the book of Deuteronomy. How can I describe it? Well, the beginning part of chapter 19 is different. How do I say it? Why do I say that? Well, let's first look at a couple of scriptures. Let's look at Isaiah. Let's look at Isaiah. Which Isaiah I'm looking at? Isaiah chapter 11. Isaiah chapter 11. Yes. Isaiah chapter 11. And let's read from verse, and this, of course, is a prophecy of Messiah and of his, is a prophecy of his return, his second return to the earth and the establishment of the kingdom of the Most High Yah. The Bible calls it the kingdom of heaven in the New Testament. And Messiah says that often. The kingdom of heaven is this, and the kingdom of heaven has come. What does that mean, the kingdom of heaven? That means the third heaven where Father Yah lives. It's the kingdom of him. It's the kingdom of his perfection of righteousness. It's the kingdom of his glory, of his holiness. That's the kingdom that's coming to the earth. And it's coming to the earth in the form of the Messiah, who will set up the kingdom of Yah. on the earth. Okay. And so here it's describing that kingdom and the elements that make up that kingdom. We're going to read this whole chapter, but I'm going to start at verse 1. And the focus verse that we're focusing on here is verse 9. But let's read the whole thing, and let's start at verse 1. This is Isaiah chapter 11, beginning at verse 1. And there shall come forth a rod out of the stem of Jesse, and a branch shall grow out of his roots. In case you didn't understand what that means, let me just explain that for some that may not understand. A rod out of the stem of Jesse means a descendant of the man named Jesse. Who was Jesse? Jesse was David's father. Okay. Jesse was the grandson of Boaz, who had a son named Obed, who had a son named Jesse. Jesse is important because he's the father of David, king of Judah, future king of Judah. And so the Bible is here starting with Jesse instead of David, and it's saying there's going to come a descendant out of Jesse's lineage. That's a rod out of the stem of Jesse. Okay. And a branch, capital B, shall grow out of his roots. So out of Jesse shall grow this entity, this person called the branch with a capital B. Okay. Why is that? Because notice he's using a tree as an example. So he says Jesse is the tree, and out of one of his branches is going to come a rod. And he says, and then it says a branch, like the main branch, capital B, is coming out of his roots. And it's the same person. Okay, verse 2. And the spirit of Yahweh shall rest upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and fear of Yahweh. So again, it's telling you it's a man, shall rest upon him. And he's telling you he's coming from Jesse, this man. And this man is going to be the spirit of the Most High rests upon him, the spirit of wisdom and understanding, the spirit of counsel and might, the spirit of knowledge and fear or reverence for the Father Yah. So this branch, this main branch of the tree of Jesse, is going to have all of these attributes as main attributes from the Father. Verse 3. And shall make him of quick understanding in the fear of Yahweh, and he shall not judge after the sight of his eyes, neither reprove after the hearing of his ears. But with righteousness shall he judge the poor, and reprove with equity for the meek of the earth. And he shall smite the earth with the rod of his mouth, and with the breath of his lips shall he slay the wicked. And righteousness shall be the girdle of his loins, and faithfulness the girdle of his reins. The wolf also shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling together, and the little child shall lead them. So now he's talking about the kingdom of the branch, the root of the stem of Jesse. He's talking about a kingdom, and he's saying in this kingdom, it's going to be righteousness and faithfulness. He's going to rule by righteousness and faithfulness. And in that kingdom, the wolf shall be able to lie down with the lamb, and the leopard shall lie down with the kid, and the calf and the young lion and the fatling all together, and a little child shall lead them. See, now in our earth, right? Can you imagine a wolf and a lamb resting together? They might make a YouTube video or a TikTok on that one, because that doesn't happen. Or a leopard with a baby goat, and the young lion and a sheep, and a little child leading them around. And the cow and the bear shall feed, their young ones shall lie down together. And the lion shall eat straw like the ox. So the lion's going to live on grass the way a cow does. And the sucking child shall play on the hole of the asp, and the weaned child shall put his hand on the cockroach's den. You're talking about cobras and snakes. He said they're not going to hurt children. The children going to play with them. Cobras and snakes. Verse 9. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, for the earth shall be full of the knowledge of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. So the whole earth is going to be like this. Nobody's going to hurt. There'll be no pain. There'll be no fear. There'll be no destruction in the kingdom. Okay. Verse 10. Now let's go from verse 10 down to verse 16. And in that day, there shall be a root of Jesse. See now, talking about the same one, which shall stand for an ensign of the people. To it shall the Gentiles seek, and his rest shall be glorious. So in the kingdom, there's going to be Jesse's root, the branch, the stem out of Jesse. And he's going to stand for the sign, the ensign of the people. What sign of what? Sign of the Father. He is a representation of the Father's righteousness. He is a representation of the Father's wisdom, as he said, wisdom, righteousness, with understanding. Okay, so he's going to be an ensign to the people, and the Gentiles are going to seek after him in the kingdom. See, because there's going to be Gentiles saved that just didn't know any better. They're going to seek after the Messiah in the kingdom. Verse 11. And it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left. Now, they mentioned the Gentiles, but then he turns around and mentions the remnant of his people. Notice he mentions two different groups here. There's the Gentiles, and then there's the remnant of his people, which shall be left. And of course, we know in the book of Revelation, the Bible tells us the dragon was what? Wroth with the woman and went to make war with the remnant of her seed. The remnant of her seed, she being a representation of the nation of Israel, the chosen people bloodline, the remnant of her seed, the dragon was angry with. Because why? Because they kept the commandments of the Most High Yah and have the testimony or the faith of Messiah. That's the remnant people. So he's saying here, he's going to recover them the second time. Well, before we go forward, let me ask you. He said he's going to recover them the second time. So that means there must have been a first time. When was the first time he went to recover his people? I mean, this says he's going to do it a second time. So there must have been a first time, right? The first time he recovered the remnant of his people, he recovered them from Egypt. So now he's recovering them a second time. Now, what is another word? Listen carefully. Here's a test question. What is another word for a called out assembly of people? What's a word for that? So he called out an assembly of people from Egypt, and he said, I'm going to do it again. So a church is not just any called out assembly, though, is it? It's not just any called out assembly. See, it's not any generic called out assembly. It's the remnant of his people. Does that make sense, y'all? So a church is a called out assembly of the remnant of Yah's chosen people. Does that make sense, y'all? So in other words, we have been brainwashed so that when you hear the word church, what do you think of? A building with people in it, with a cross on it. Isn't that correct? Isn't that what we've been brainwashed to think a church is? A building that has some people in it, and it could be any people, and they have a cross on it, and sometimes they have a wooden cross, and sometimes on the walls they have pictures of this white man. Am I lying? Sometimes on the walls they have pictures of this white man. Who is this white man? They have pictures of this white man on the wall of this building that they call a church. They have pictures of this white man. They call him Jesus. They call him Jesus. But this is not what the Most High is talking about. Here, is it? So he said, first of all, the branch out of Jesse, we know is not a European man. He's from Jesse. Jesse's a Hebrew Israelite. And then it says, where is he? Wait, let's talk about this verse 11. Where is he calling them from the second time? Let's take a look at that. Isaiah chapter 11, and it shall come to pass, verse 11, and it shall come to pass in that day that Yahweh shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left. Well, where is he calling them from? Assyria. Today, Assyria is Iran. But in ancient times, when Isaiah wrote this, it wasn't Iran. It was Assyria, where you had the Chaldeans, right? And you had, Nineveh, where Jonah was called to go. Remember, Jonah was sent to Nineveh. That's where Assyria was. And from Egypt, which real name is Mizraim. And so he's calling his people that went through Mizraim. Where's Mizraim at today? The land they call Egypt. Where exactly is that? Is that in Asia? Where is it? Where's Mizraim? Where is Egypt today? Well, just to let you know, Mizraim was one of the sons of Ham. So it's right. It's what we call today Africa. So he's calling them, because they went through Africa, Pathros. Where's Pathros today? Where are the people of Pathros? Do y'all know? Where are the people of Pathros from? Where they come from? People of Pathros. Where they come from? Today, that's called Africa. Pathros is Africa. Okay. Cush. Where does Cush come from? So you got Cush, Pathros, Egypt. Where does Cush come from? Cush is another word for Ethiopia. Where's Ethiopia? Africa. So he's calling his people. It seemed like a whole bunch of his people went through Africa, don't you think? Let's continue. Elam. Elam today is what you would call Syria and Lebanon. Of course, again, they were different back then. Shinar, that's the centerpiece of where Nimrod's kingdom was. Nimrod is from who? Oh, yeah, he's from Ham too. Amath, and from the islands of the sea. So he's calling his people from all of these black places, and from the islands of the sea. Well, that makes sense, right? Because the Bible tells us, and we could just step over for a second before we go to Zephaniah real quick. Zephaniah chapter 3 real quick. We come right back to Isaiah. Zephaniah chapter 3 real quick. Notice what it said. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10. We're going to come right back. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 10. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. So he's saying his people were dispersed from Africa. Well, let me ask you a dumb question. If his people were dispersed from Africa, do you happen to think they would look like those people that are in the state of Israel running things right now? Like, in other words, would they look like Benjamin Netanyahu? Would the people that were dispersed from Africa, would they look like Benjamin Netanyahu? Okay. Would they look more like Denzel Washington? Would they look more like Bob Marley? Would they look more like, yeah, you got me, Wesley Snipes? Bobo, yes, exactly. So they'll look more like that than they would look like Benjamin Netanyahu, or Netanyahu, whatever you say his name. Netanyahu, whatever. But y'all get it. Okay. So notice, this is the Bible now. Am I making this up or am I reading the scripture? I'm reading the King James Bible, chapter 11, verse 11. He's saying this is where he's getting his people from. He's calling them. And then we just read in Zephaniah where he said, from the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliant, my dispersed. And wait, you know another word for dispersed, just to let you know. Maybe you've heard this word before. The diaspora. Have you heard that? The diaspora. Have you heard that word before? The diaspora. Have you heard that? And then, of course, yes, of course, there is the real word from the Bible is scattered. Absolutely. Scattered. So they went apparently through Africa and they were scattered. We're reading this in the Bible, are we not? I mean, I'm not making that up, am I? I mean, really? Do people from Ashkenazi look like they came from dispersed of Africa? And do they look like they could have spent, a century or two in North Africa and Egypt back in the day with them brothers? I mean, really? All right, let's continue. All right, so we got that part, right? So Isaiah chapter 11. So the point, though, is that there were not going to be no fear, no pain in the kingdom. The assembly, when he assembles together his outcasts and assembles the Gentiles with them, there's not going to be no pain. Not going to be nobody getting killed or hurt by the animals. The animals are going to be at peace with each other, and the people are going to be at peace with the animals, and everybody going to be at peace with nature and nature with us, right? That's the new kingdom. Okay, verse 12. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations. And shall assemble. Now he shall set up an ensign for the nation. Whenever you hear the word nations, that's Gentiles. That's your Gentiles. So he's going to set up an ensign. He said it again. I'm going to set up an ensign for the Gentiles. They're going to come to this sign, to my holy mountain, because they're going to know who my people are. They're going to know who the head of my kingdom is, and they're coming. I'm going to set up an ensign for the nations, those that are saved, right? That's what it says in Revelation. The nations of those that are saved. Praise the Most High. And shall assemble the outcasts of Israel and gather together the dispersed of Judah. And just in case you didn't get this, from the four corners of the earth. So let's put it all together. So they were dispersed through Africa into the four corners of the earth. And he says, I'm going to gather my dispersed from the four corners of the earth, the remnant of my people, and bring them back to my kingdom, to my holy mountain. Okay. And he says the outcasts of Israel, and then he says the dispersed of Judah. That's very important to understand why he said it that way. Israel was divided into the northern kingdom, which was called Israel, and then the southern kingdom, which is the kingdom of Judah. Where you get the word Jew from is the kingdom of Judah. Okay, so you had two kingdoms that were formerly one nation. Now, why did he say outcasts of Israel? Because they were cast out of the northern kingdom by the Assyrians. And you can read that in 2 Kings. They were cast out of the northern kingdom by the Assyrians. They were taken out, captive, outcast, taken out. Okay, but dispersed of Judah. Why is that? Because Judah ran when the Romans came to destroy Jerusalem. Judah, the southern kingdom, the Jews ran. They were dispersed. Does that make sense? They ran into Africa and they were dispersed from there. And they dispersed all in Africa. And then from Africa, they were dispersed to the four corners of the earth. Okay, so you had the outcasts of Israel and the dispersed of Judah. Okay, let's continue. Verse 13. The envy also of Ephraim shall depart. Why is that important? Why is he mentioning the envy of Ephraim? Ephraim was envious of Judah. Why was Ephraim envious of Judah? The Most High at the beginning put his name in Ephraim. Ephraim was two of Joseph's tribes. Remember, this is how this real quick. Let me give you this. Joseph got the blessing of the firstborn because Reuben lost it because he had sex with one of his father's concubines. So Joseph, which was the firstborn of Rachel, Joseph got the firstborn blessing. Let me explain the firstborn blessing. The firstborn blessing is the double blessing. How does that work? So let's say you have two children. You have a firstborn and a secondborn, right? What you do is you divide all their inheritance into three. And the firstborn gets 2/3, and the other brother gets, or the sister gets 1/3. That's the double blessing of the firstborn. That's how they did it. So in this case, Jacob divided his wealth into 13, and he gave Joseph 2/13 of it, and everybody else got 1/13. So Joseph and Manasseh and Ephraim represented the double blessing, because they were both sons of Joseph. And so he got two tribes in Israel. He got the double blessing of the firstborn. Ephraim was the youngest of those two brothers, Manasseh and Ephraim. But remember, Jacob laid his right hand on Ephraim, giving him the biggest blessing of the two brothers. So Ephraim, and that's where Joshua came from. So Joshua was from the tribe of Ephraim. And if you remember, Moses was told by the Most High to ordain Joshua to lead the children of Israel into the promised land. Joshua was from Ephraim. So that means the Ark of the Covenant with Joshua. So Joshua's land was in Ephraim. That was their land. And the capital city where the Ark of the Covenant was called Shiloh. So for the first 400 years of Israel as a nation in the promised land, 400 years, it was in Shiloh. Can you imagine? For 4 centuries, the Ark of the Covenant and the priests were in Shiloh. But then came David. And David came and took the ark. And that's why he said he wanted to build a house for the Most High. And then his prophet Nathan said, dude, the Most High is with you. Do what's in your heart. And then Nathan came back to him and said, the Most High said, you cannot build his house because you have been a shedder of blood. So you're going to have your son build it. So what David did in the interim is he took the Ark of the Covenant and all of the sanctuary from Ephraim and brought it to Judah. And that made Ephraim extremely angry. And there was always beef between Ephraim and Judah after that. There was always beef. And Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, that was the first king of the northern kingdom, was from Ephraim. Okay, he was from Ephraim. And that was by no accident. He was the biggest protester of Solomon from Judah, see? So there was always a beef between Ephraim and Judah because David took the Ark of the Covenant from Ephraim and brought it to Judah. Okay, and Ephraim wasn't having that. And then what Ephraim ended up doing was setting up golden calves so that people would still go to Shiloh instead of going to Jerusalem. But that's why he says here in the kingdom, verse 13, the envy also of Ephraim shall depart, and the adversaries of Judah shall be cut off. So there'll be no more fighting between them. Ephraim shall not envy Judah, and Judah shall not vex Ephraim. See, Judah vexed Ephraim by taking the Ark of the Covenant from them. Okay. Verse 14, but they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines toward the west, and they shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Moab and Ammon, and Moab and Edom, and the children of Ammon shall obey them. So all of their enemies are going to obey them. All of the enemies of Israel, Judah and Ephraim, are going to obey them in the kingdom. Okay. Verse 15, and Yahweh shall utterly destroy the tongue of the Egyptian sea with his mighty wind. He shall shake his hand over the river and shall smite it into 7 streams and make men go over dry shod. See, it's the deliverance after the manner of Egypt. the way he delivered from Egypt. So he's going to deliver us. And he said, the Egyptian sea. We know what the Egypt means, right? It's not only Mizraim, but what else does it mean? What is Egyptian? House of bondage. I'm going to destroy the tongue of the house of bondage. Verse 16, and there shall be a highway for the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, like as it was to Israel in the day he came up out of the land of Egypt. So he is, so you're not going to see slavery no more. He's going to deliver you like he delivered us, our fathers, from Egypt. He's going to deliver us from where he said, the four corners of the earth. Deliver us from the four corners of the earth, the way he delivered our people from Egypt. Praise the Most High. So you can see here, there's not going to be any hurt or destruction in the kingdom. Let's look at a couple of other witnesses just for the sake of the witnesses. You have Habakkuk. Habakkuk. Okay, I always have trouble finding that. There it is. Habakkuk. Yep. Habakkuk. Yeah, he says the same thing. Habakkuk or Habakkuk. I can never say it right. Habakkuk. Okay. In Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 14. Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 14 says the same thing. For the earth shall be filled with the knowledge of the glory of Yahweh as the waters cover the sea. See? So again, same witness of what Isaiah is saying. And of course, we also know about the book of Revelation, Revelation chapter 21. Revelation 21 from verse 1 down to verse 5. Yeah, Revelation 21, 1 to 5. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yah out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven saying, behold, the tabernacle of Yah is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yah himself shall be with them and be their most high. And Yah shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain, for the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, behold, I make all things new. And he said unto me, write, for these words are true and faithful. Okay, so we have three witnesses telling us what the kingdom's going to be like. Well, now let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 19, and you can understand what I'm saying when I say this is a little different. So let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 19. Deuteronomy chapter 19, at least the beginning of Deuteronomy 19. I'm going to start at verse 1. And I'm going to go from verse 1 down to verse 13. From verse 1 down to verse 13. When Yahweh thy Most High have cut off the nations whose land Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee, and thou succeedest them, and dwellest in their cities and in their houses, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee in the midst of thy land, which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee to possess it. And thou shalt prepare thee a way, divide the coast of thy land, which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee to inherit, into 3 parts, that the slayer may flee thither. So he wants 3 special cities for somebody that killed somebody. Now, why would he do that? Let's take a look. Verse 4. And this is the case of the slayer, which shall flee thither, that he may live. Whoso killeth his neighbor ignorantly, whom he hated not in time past, as when a man goeth into the wood with his neighbor to hew wood, and his hand fetcheth a stroke with the axe to cut down the tree, and the head slippeth from the helve, and lighteth upon his neighbor that he die, he shall flee into one of those cities and live, lest the avenger of the blood pursue the slayer while his heart is hot, and overtake him because the way is long, and slay him, whereas he was not worthy of death, inasmuch as he hated him not in time past. Wherefore I command thee, saying, thou shalt separate 3 cities for thee. See? So what is it called when somebody kills somebody by accident? There's a word for that today. What is it called in the law today when somebody kills somebody and didn't mean to kill them? It was complete accident. What do they call it? Like you're out, like you say, out in the wood and you get ready to chop wood and the iron part slips off and hits somebody in the head and kills. That's right. It's called manslaughter. You didn't mean to kill him. It wasn't in your heart to kill him. You never hated this person, but you unintentionally killed him. That's called manslaughter today. So he says, if you create these 3 cities for the guy that committed manslaughter. And why? He said, because even if the person did not mean to kill that person, if it was an accident, the family of the one that was killed may not agree with that. And they may want to take vengeance. And so to protect against vengeance, that the person that did this was not worthy to be killed for because it was an accident, they say, go into this city, and the persons that seek vengeance cannot come in there. Only the people that are the victim, or not the victim, but the person that committed this accident can flee there and not be revenged upon by anybody from the family of the deceased. Okay. Now, verse 9. If thou shalt keep, verse 8 and 9. And if Yahweh thy most high enlarge thy coast as he has sworn unto thy fathers, and give thee all the land which he promised to give unto thy fathers, if thou shalt keep all these commandments to do them, which I command thee this day, to love Yahweh thy most high, and to walk ever in his ways, then thou shalt add 3 cities more for thee besides these 3, that the innocent blood be not shed in thy land, which Yahweh thy most high giveth thee for inheritance, and so blood be upon thee. But, well, let me stop there. So why did I bring up Isaiah 11 and Habakkuk and Revelation in light of this? Because in the kingdom, there'll be no need for cities because nobody's going to die. Does that make sense? There'll be no manslaughter in the kingdom. Nobody's going to die by accident in the kingdom. There'll be no pain in the kingdom. So that's what I'm saying. This is different. This is for the earthly kingdom. This is for the land that our fathers possessed. But when we possess it in the kingdom of Messiah, when he gathers us the second time from the 4 corners of the earth, there'll be no more manslaughter. That will not exist. Okay. It exists now, but it won't exist then. There'll be no more. See? So that's why I said this is different. Okay. And then and the reason he went through all of this is what he said here in verse 10. That innocent blood be not shed in thy land. See, so even though people could die in the time of Joshua, all the way to whenever they lost the kingdom, when the Romans came, over 1,200 years they were there, people could die. The Most High was trying to protect the people from having innocent blood shed. That means somebody not being killed when they shouldn't be killed, being killed when they shouldn't be killed, when it was an accident. Okay, so he said, so that the innocent blood be not shed, which Yahweh thy most high giveth thee for inheritance, so blood be upon thee. So if somebody kills somebody because there was an accident and they went and avenged it, the blood's on that person and on the city and the elders. They're all responsible. Okay, so that was important. But of course, again, when we get to the kingdom, there'll be no bloodshed. No blood shed. Okay. So now, verse 11. But if any man hate his neighbor and lie in wait for him and rise up against him and smite him mortally, that he die and fleeth into one of these cities, then the elders of his city shall send and fetch him thence and deliver him into the hand of the avenger of blood, that he may die. Thy eyes shall not pity him, but thou shalt put away guilt from innocent blood from Israel, that it may go well with thee. So, what is it called when somebody purposely kills somebody? That's called murder, right? And so what did he say? In the case of murder, he said, let the elders, who are the elders? Who are the elders of the city? Who did the Most High appoint as the elders? The Levites, right? So you let the Levites of the city send and fetch him. So now because the Levites were the judges. So this wasn't like somebody killed one of my children and then I go and get that person. First of all, I have to go to the Levites, and the Levites go and send for that person. Say, okay, we call that today. What happened to this dude that murdered them people in Idaho? They found him in Pennsylvania. And what happened? He faced what? Extradition, right? What happened? They had to extradite him from Pennsylvania into the state where he committed the crime. Same exact thing. So in other words, the Levites would send for that person that committed this murder and extradite him back to the city where he committed the murder. And from there, the family that he committed the murder against, that person's family, is the first ones to lay hands on him. They're allowed to kill him because he's a murderer. He's put to death. See? So how they did it, let's go back over there. So the Levites, once it's found out that this guy's a murderer, that he laid in wait or he planned to kill this guy for whatever his reasons was, he murdered this man and he fled to another city. The elders send for him. They go to that city, they contact the elders of that city, they say, listen, this John Doe, he murdered somebody in our city. Ooh, they said, what? So then they take a delegation and they extradite him back to where the murder was committed. Now, remember, in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. So they have witnesses. They have to have witnesses. So they got 2 or 3 witnesses that say, yes, we saw him kill this person. And that then now the family, who's the family of the deceased, they get to kill. Imagine if that happened today. Of all them angry families and them people, the families of this man that stabbed up these young kids there in Idaho, they make quick work of that dude, wouldn't they? And that's what would happen here. The men would make quick work of this dude. Okay, he'd be put to death. And he said, don't spare him. He said, because you want to pull away the guilt of innocent blood. So what this man in Idaho did and what they're talking about here is killing people that were innocent. And therefore, you shed innocent blood. So now, let's say the people of Idaho said, we can't do nothing about it, man. This guy's gone. That means the blood of them kids are on all of the judicial system of Idaho in this sense. It'd be on everybody be guilty because you just let a murderer get away. Now, let me ask you a question. Was there ever a time in the United States that innocent blood of Hebrews was shed and the murderer got away with it? Ever happened? Was there ever a time when the Hebrew blood was shed and the murderer just got away with it? Everybody knew it. The murderer got away with it. Okay, let me take it a step further. Then that means all of the people that were involved with that murder have blood on their hands. The innocent blood is on their hands, and they're going to face judgment. We're going to talk about that in a minute. They're going to face judgment because of the innocent blood on their hands. Okay? Let me ask you this. Has there ever been prominent Hebrews killed in the United States with the blessing of the government? Has the government ever allowed prominent Hebrews to be murdered and they didn't do anything to stop it, or maybe even they helped with it? So that would mean that the government is guilty of innocent blood. So now you can understand why it's going to be destroyed. It's going to be destroyed. Well, let me ask you this. Was there any other places that this government went and set up dictators that killed innocent blood and got away with it? Was there any place where there was puppet government set up, funded, and financed for whatever purposes, and innocent blood was killed? Yes, there was. So the people that committed the heinous crime, the government that was responsible for that, and the government that funded them are guilty of blood. What does that mean? They will be destroyed. Iran is one place. How about Nigeria, Liberia? How about Haiti? 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 How about that? How about the government in Cuba before Castro? How about that? How about Panama? How about Nicaragua? How about Chile? Pino, what's his name? Chende or something like that? What about there? What about Peru? What about right now? They just arrested a president. I think it was in Peru. All of these places, puppet governments have been set up. Innocent people have been murdered by the puppet governments that were funded by other governments. So the funders and the puppets, all guilty. All. Which means they are guilty of innocent blood, the Bible showing us, which means that they're going to be destroyed. And again, just in case you think it's just me, Revelation chapter 18, Revelation 18, talking about Babylon, which we know is a worldwide system that's made up of government, religion, business, entertainment, correct? Worldwide system. What does it say about Babylon? Revelation chapter 18. Revelation chapter 18. I'm going to read from verse 20 and read down, I'm going to read from verse 18 down to verse 24. Revelation chapter 18 from verse 18 down to verse 24. Notice what it says. And cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, that great city, wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for Yah hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. And the voice of harpers and musicians, and of pipers and trumpeters shall be heard no more at all in thee. And no craftsman of whatsoever craft he be shall be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone shall be heard no more at all in thee. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in thee. And the voice of bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in thee. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by thy sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets. In her was found what? The blood of prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. So, innocent blood shed in Babylon is going to be avenged, which covers the entire planet Earth. So just on this point alone from Deuteronomy chapter 19, we can see, and we're talking about Deuteronomy to the Hebrews, right? So the Hebrew blood was shed. That's really the key thing. And not that the Most High don't care about all people, but this is especially his chosen people. He said, he that touches you touches the apple of his eye. And you have been touched all over this planet. So based on just this principle, and there's more, but based on just this principle, the whole earth's kingdom is going to be destroyed. And it's going to be done over in the righteousness of the branch. And the Father Yah is sending the root of Jesse, the branch, Messiah Yahushua, to destroy this whole place and establish his kingdom here, okay, in Mount Zion as the capital. Yes, he is. Praise the Most High. Okay. All right. All right. So in chapter 19 of Deuteronomy, I'm gonna stop here, and I'm gonna start at verse 14 tomorrow because it's a good spot. I can finish chapter 19 tomorrow, and we can go into chapter 20, which deals with very important topic: marriage. Marriage. Yes, marriage. So we'll deal with that tomorrow, along with the finishing of chapter 19. We're going to do that. I want to, because this next part is real important in terms of judgment. It's very important. So we're going to deal with that tomorrow by the grace of the Most High. So we'll stop here. I'm going to change the title since we really didn't go into that tonight. Tonight we went into revenge. I'm going to change the title to, in fact, let me do that. I'm going to change the title of tonight's message to revenge. In fact, let me do that right now. I'm going to change that right now. Yes, revenge. Indeed, that's the word, revenge. Well, may the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom to all the nation and my brethren. Shalom to all of you. Until we meet again.